Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. Heroes Jubilee or Normal Battle 2 with a light team this time. So first stage was dark, now we're light, and if you have the antagonist meta and Isis and Kyoko, you should be looking fairly well on this. Not much to talk about, so we'll just jump into the disclaimers. Disclaimer number 1 is that your results may vary. Please use this video as a guide and just build whatever you can that will remotely make sense to how we're trying to do this stage and how it operates. You don't have to match my team one for one because I don't know if you can, but just use what you have available to get the highest score possible and use this as a guide. Disclaimer number 2 is these are the characters I use for protection gauge, and these are the characters I use for skill points. And disclaimer number 3 is don't forget to go into your Town of Tempest and optimize your light building so your light nuker can do as much damage as possible. But with that said, let's jump in. Alright, Normal Battle 2 wants us to use an AoE light magic character. This time there are only 2 enemies, which makes it a bit harder to hit that damage cap because you don't have a third character you can do millions of damage to. It's just 2 armored orcs. They have 247k HP, so they are pretty tanky. They have a lot of physical resistance, but their stats are fairly low, and they have extra defense, so they are quite tanky. The stage wants you to use an orange converter, so this is built for the antagonist meta, SHINSHA and Emils. So if you have them, you're looking pretty good. And by looking good, I mean you've got SHINSHA, Emils, the new Isis, the new Kyoko. Exalted Champion Rimuru is not completely necessary here. You could bring in a different character to give an attack buff. And then we brought the OG masked hero for the rewind, because I'm assuming not a lot of people pulled for the new hero. But if you have the new hero, she would work pretty well as too. So we'll start this up. We'll jump in. Turn 1, we are starting with 36 points, so we can use SHINSHA's Convert turn 1, not worry about it. And then we'll bring the hero in because turn 2 we're going to rewind. And then we'll bring Kyoko in because they both have protection traits under them for turn 2. So we'll send this on one of the orcs. Next turn we'll rewind. We're going to work towards getting the EX ult with SHINSHA, so we need a decent amount of orbs for her. 4 will work. So we will take that. 1 damage is what you're looking to take for max score again. So if you take more than that or you get pierced, the max score run is over. But here, we can go ahead and rewind, and then we can use Emils to change all of it to oranges with 2 rainbows, and we can bring in one of the other characters for the hero. I'm not super fussed about using her buff right now. Plus she has lower stats than everyone because Emils isn't giving her the attack and defense because she's physical. So there, full hand. These 4 SHINSHA orbs will get us her EX ult, and we'll spread the damage out. I don't want to kill either of them early. I want to leave them both alive, so now with the extra pierce, we are doing hefty damage to them because we're getting the damage buff, we're type advantage, we're piercing now. The rewind will kick in, and then this will allow us to use the Kyoko buff and the Rimuru buff early, and we can hold that on SHINSHA and send her away for Isis. And then we have enough points, and we have protection gauge, so we could use Emils again, and then that will get us another protector next turn. But more importantly, this gets us a lot of points. So like these 4 greens, 29 points, that ain't gonna work. We need the full hand. So, convert, we have the rainbows, plus the protection gauge that we get from the rewind skill is really good, so this will actually get us another protector, and 117 points, which is actually 147, because of Emil's passive ability. So we've spread the damage out, we've knocked them both fairly low, 1 damage, looking good. And now we just have to use the Isis buffs and the SHINSHA buff, and we're good. I mean, you can use the hero buff too if you want instead. I don't think... Do I use that? Do I have enough points for that? I don't think I do, because we need 130 to use the debuff, the buff. Yeah, so we don't actually use the hero buff. We just need her for the rewind. So that's her crit buff is least important, because as you can see when we actually nuke, we're not going to need her crit damage. So SHINSHA, 3.1 million across the board, That is way over the damage cap of 4.6. So when we look at our final score, 0 damage taken, max turn bonus, max weakness damage. The score is not nearly as high as what boss or normal battle 1 was, but there is the max score team for normal battle 2. So because I know people are going to ask, I did try to use the Divine General team for this stage. It's awful. Starting hand of oranges means that you're really, really screwed on points. Even by bringing Cleash from last month to convert to a 6-hand of orange, like that's great and all, but this is not a fun run. Blanc is now only swapping herself. The hero, again, is a support alt, so her multiplier is terrible. We don't have Raphael to give us the extra stacks of synergy or alt damage, and so by turn 5, when we actually nuke, with the Pierce power, synergy power, and alt damage, and the stacks of Elmesia, the hero does barely 500,000 a hit. So if it's what you got, it's what you got, but dear lord, that's just not good. We did not have enough support to make her do what Diablo did last time. And even if we had a third enemy to nuke here, we would have done 1.5 million, which is not it. So I did use it. We have it on video. It's not great. So let's move on. Alright, next up is New Year's Blessing. It's still a good team. It's not going to hit you the damage cap, but it'll get you fairly close. So Xion, Rimuru, the nuker. We brought the Masked Hero again for the rewind, and then Shinsha, Milim, and Benimaru. So the idea is you're just going to do a single target nuke with Rimuru, and then a secondary nuke with probably Shinsha, because she's single target, but she doesn't have a good support underneath her, so I don't really know. But it certainly can get the job done. So turn 1, we don't have anything that's going to swap the alts, or the orbs, so we're just going to send 3. And just like we did for the alt team for normal battle 1, we're just going to do this again. So, boom, and 5 orbs for Rimuru. We'll also rewind here, so that'll give us a lot of protection gauge on top of the rainbows. We'll bring Benimaru in so we can hold his buff. We'll use the alt swap to give the gauges the extra 10% bump. This will get Rimuru his EX alt, and then we will hold the buffs for Rimuru and Benimaru and send Rimuru away. And then on turn 3 we're gonna nuke, or maybe further on. I can't remember if we actually nuke on turn 3 or not. Depends. It's been a while since I recorded this part. But he is going away, and we did buff. So now we can Xion. Full send of oranges gets us some points back. It gets us close to a Shinsha EX alt. And then next turn we can alt swap away again if we decide to do that. Or we can just nuke. There's still 2 minutes in this clip though, so I assume we keep going. Okay, so actually we're going to kill? No, we leave him alive. Yeah, I think we alt swap away here. So another Xion, boom, full hand of oranges, and we're fairly close to another one, so we could either send this and get another alt. Oh, okay, I do that instead. I mean, I get her EX alt again, right? No, I don't. I don't think I do. See, this is what happens when I record like a day earlier. I forget everything. So no, we got her normal alt, so we could do more damage on this turn. Not a super big deal. Oh. That works too. That works too. I totally forgot about this run. So that's the EX alt for Shinsha then. Oh, I know why. Because we can't bring Rimuru in because Benimaru never got an orb. That's why. That's why we're not nuking now. Okay. But on turn 5, we do get Benimaru orbs finally. So I guess this run could have been better. Maybe, because they had defense last turn. And now it's fallen off. So I don't know if this turn or next turn, because turn 6 may be better because that's when they don't have physical resistance. You might have to play around with it depending and see what your damage score is at without that resistance on. I assume Rimuru would hit quite a bit harder. And we're going to use the hero buff as well because we have the points for it, and it'll put some crit resistance down, which we don't have because we're not bringing Diablo. Normally he would put 25% down. But then we'll single target and then follow up with Shinsha, 2.2 million. So, I mean, without that 100% physical res, I mean, we probably would have hit the damage cap. So if you can run this team and you do want to run this team, maybe you're better off just going an extra turn and waiting for the resistance to fall off so your nuke can hit harder. But New Year's Blessing team can get the job done. Alright, next is Exalted Champions. Still a good team, 6 months old, can still get jobs done. We've brought Velzard. Rimuru is going to be our nuker. We brought Shinsha, in case you have her. We're not technically piercing with this team, so her pierce resistance doesn't mean anything. But the 100% alt damage is good. If you don't have Shinsha, just bring a different alt buffer. If you have the new Blanc, or if you have Dark Milim, or Guy, or someone, just bring them instead. You won't have maybe as high of a damage buff, but you'll still have an alt buff. Veldora for the green buff. Rimuru himself has the attack buff and the rainbow alt swap. We've got Autogram Lumi, who's double skill fuse for extra AoE damage and alt damage. And then we brought Idol Shuna for the synergy power, since we're not bringing Guy, because he wouldn't be able to alt rush Rimuru, because he's not space or wind. So, I mean, this team works. It's not going to get you damage cap, but it certainly works. So, turn 1, we still can't convert anything. But we can send people away, and we can just get some points here. So we're going to pray that we can bring in Rimuru for someone who has a lot of orbs this turn, and then make that work. So 80 points. We've got Velzard active from protection gauge traits. That's why we swapped Rimuru out. And then we'll bring him in for the person with 3 orbs, Shuna. We'll use the green buff. We'll use both of the Lumi buffs, alt and AoE, and then we'll use Velzard. And because we have the green buff going now, we're gonna cycle with Velzard. But I don't want to kill too quickly, so we're actually gonna send Rimuru first with his orbs and not the 200%, because otherwise we would do too much damage. And now we already have an alt, so I mean, we could alt swap with him. We could alt swap with Shuna. Like, it really doesn't matter all that much what we do. If I wanted to use the rainbows, I'd probably want it with people who have more alts. So we're gonna use Shuna and another stack each of Lumi's buffs. So now we're at 20% AoE and 40% alt damage, and full hand of greens. We'll switch characters now. We'll send these orbs on this guy since he's at full HP, and he's not going to die from 1 6-hand send. But now Rimuru's got his EX alt. That's perfect. We got 150 points. Means we can use the attack buff and the synergy buff and the rainbow alt swap now, because we have 2 alts. Boom. We'll also use another stack of Lumi, so now she's done on her AoE buff. We've got the full 30%. So we just need to go one more turn, turn 5. The physical resistance now doesn't mean anything to us, because we're not nuking with a physical character like we were with New Year's Blessing. And we'll go ahead and send this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we have enough points to use the other buff, Shinsha buff, I guess, and maybe another stack of Lumi, depending on how many points we have. Which actually, I don't think we do, because it's a bit too expensive. Yeah, it's too expensive. But we've got everything active now. We've got the full AoE buff, which is more important, because that's a much more powerful buff. And nothing to do, except use Velzard one more time, get the Drago effect, get the element buff, and then we'll just... I think we send Veldora's ult first, because he's not going to do a lot of damage, and then we send Rimuru. Yeah. So Veldora does 39k, and Rimuru does 880. So definitely not the 4.6 million, but if it's what you got, it's what you got. So just shy of 2 million damage right there. We did take some damage as well, so not max score, but it is workable. Okay, old team, Goddess of Destiny. Technically is a light magic team, gives us extra damage against dark. Shuna has her own light buff and crit damage buff. Mirren is giving us guaranteed crits. We got an alt buff from Dark Milim. Rain has the magic buff. Soka has the attack buff, and then we're going to bring the Cleash to change the orbs turn 1. And we're going to nuke this in like 3 turns. This is not going to be a super good fight, but it does give you extra damage against dark enemies. So if this is your only option, then this is your only option. There's nothing you can really do about it. So, turn 1, we'll bring Cleash in. We've got Violet underneath her for turn 1 or turn 2 protection gauge. Soka has probably Milim or Shizu underneath her for also turn 2 protection gauge. So this should work fairly well. And then we're looking for 3 orbs of somebody on turn 2, so we can steal those with Shuna. Doesn't matter who it is. It's just 3 orbs of someone. And looks like it's Cleash, which is probably the best case scenario. We have 4 orbs for her. So in Shuna comes. We don't have a lot of points right now, but we will. And then we can bring Rain in for Milim. We'll use the Steel. Boom. We'll use the green buff from Rain, so these green orbs get extra gauge. And then we'll use Mirren, who gives us the follow-up orbs and extra skill points on orbs. But we do not use the attack buff from Shuna now. Otherwise, we would kill everyone. Because I tried that, and it didn't work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the follow-ups are there. We have the EX ult for Shuna. We have 150 points, which is enough to use literally everything. So magic buff, attack buff, crit, and light buff. And then Dark Milim comes in for the ult buff. And then we just nuke. We're not going to do 4 million damage. He's got 145,000 HP, so I'm not really confident on sending a Shuna orb here. Like, I feel like I'm just going to kill. So Shuna does 1 million damage. Like, ooh, fancy. But, again, if it's what you got, it's what you got. For a total of 1.4 million, under 100k total. But, oh well, it's something. Alright, you know who has a really strong single-target light nuker? Visions of Coleus. Blanc. A different Blanc, but Blanc nonetheless. So, Lumi, stacking blues, okay, sure, fine, whatever. Coleus Rimuru, Rainbow Orbs, Blanc, alt swapping, synergy resistance down, weakness strike, Jean and Violet, magic and alt damage, lots of damage. And then Cleash for the turn 1 convert, because I want to bring her. If you don't want to bring her, you don't have to, it's just very difficult to get this team started without her. So, yeah, we're just going to let this ride. Thankfully, it's a fairly quick team, since all you're doing is just stacking. It doesn't have any weird gimmicks to it, like the Divine General team. You just change to blue orbs and keep sending. So the 6 hand of oranges is actually nice, because it gets us very close to alts with everybody. So the more alts you have, the more blue orbs you have from Blanc, which is very nice. It's just that right now we don't have a lot of points. So here, we're going to use a stack of Lumi, and I think we're going to orb change with Violet. Nope, we're going to send 3, which actually doesn't get us to an ult, surprisingly. I thought they were, but oh well. So here we have 3 green orbs. We have Rimuru, who can change 2 of them because of Violet. It's just that, are we going to change the right ones, or are we just going to send it, which we are. So we've already burned like 3 turns of nothing, which isn't great. You're looking for a little bit better RNG so you can get more stacks of Lumi, but it does get us 2 ults, which means that we now have 2 blue orbs. And then we got pretty lucky on blues to begin with, so we don't need to do too much. And then we have 30 points left over, which means we can rainbow. And that gives us a 2-2-2 spread, which means that we can get very close to a Jean EX ult and a very close to a Blanc EX ult. Because we're going to look for 2 single target alts, even though Jean's ult does nothing for our score, because it's only counting weakness strike score. So Jean being type neutral means nothing to us. But if we had like a second light character here, if you were to take out Cleash for another light character, I guess you could bring Hinata if you have her, because she could orb change, and she could be a single target nuker. She wouldn't be getting a lot of the buffs, but she'd get, well, no, she'd get the magic, she'd get the weakness strike, synergy resistance down. She wouldn't be getting the stacks from Lumi, but So, I mean, that's an option. If you either don't want to bring Cleash or don't have Cleash, and you have the old, like, super old light Hinata, you can bring her, and I think she's magic. Yeah, I think that was a magic meta that came out. But 1.8 million there, and then her ult does, 1 million, but again, her score doesn't matter. And that puts us at 1.9 million damage, and if we had brought Hinata, maybe it would have been like 2.5 million or something like that. Still not damage cap, but still a score, and it's fairly easy to run, so it's pretty good there. Alright, final team is the Light 2 or Light 3.0 team. Stacking blue team, bunch of light characters, so we've got Lumi and Raphael as single target nukers. This technically does work. It's a very, very old team, so it's definitely not going to get you damage cap. But it's full of light characters, which if you've got it, and you need a light team, then this can work, technically. Turn 1's going to be a bit awkward because we're not sending anything except the oranges. We don't have an orb changer here, so It's just try and get 2 single target ults for Lumi and Raphael. We brought the free-to-play Rieger because he's an orb changer and a double ult swapper. So he is quite impactful for this team, which technically doesn't have an ult swapper if you were using it as it was built back in the day of New Year's 2023. Yeah, New Year's last year. Right before EX metas were a thing, because it was this and then it was Space 3.0 and then we got Fount of Wisdom. Alright. Okay. So, it's a very simple team. So we have the points here because we can just bring in Lumi for Raphael, or we can bring in Milim for either Raphael or Lumi. It doesn't really matter because we have Shuna in the back as well, who's an orb changer. So we'll swap out Raphael, boom, and then we'll bring Shuna in for her. That's a full hand of blues right there. We've gotten 1 stack, right? 2 stacks. We've gotten 2 stacks of Shuna. So okay, good. And now we just need a lot of blue orbs and a lot of orbs for our 2 main characters, which Shuna has 3 right here. We have orb changers, so 1, 2, boom, and boom. Another stack of Shuna, and then I think we'll flip targets here. No, okay, we're going to continue hitting this one. We're going to get him a bit lower. So the whole point of this team is to nuke 1 character, because the stun strike and the stun is only put on 1 enemy, and there's no way to really do it again, unless we were to bring... who is it? Soka for the stun extension, which I don't want to bring her instead of Rieger. I would lose an ult swap, and that'd be painful. But you're only going to get maximum damage on 1 enemy. So you got to hit that one with Raphael, because he's the strongest. And then Lumi can just follow up and do whatever damage she can against the second little piggy. So stack, and orb change, and ult swap, and orb change. So we'll bring you in for Shuna, we'll use your orb change, and then we'll bring Rieger back in. Unfortunately, this is going to get his ult, which is not great, because he only swaps 2, and now he has an ult on top of these characters. But we can just simply send someone away first, and then still double ult swap. So here, it's not a great hand, but we can still convert out of it. But we're now going to turn 8, because we need to get as many points as possible. So they have 152 HP, 152,000 HP. So let's go ahead and orb change, and then we'll just remove Lumi, and then ult swap, orb change, boom, boom. Coming into turn 8, we'll send this, get this piggy lowered down, and then next turn we will nuke. And that'll be the run, and that'll be the video. So I guess I'll just start the outro. If you have any other teams that you found works for this fight that is not something I've built, please put it down in the comments so other people can see that and make use of it. But this stage is a lot harder to do because of what it's asking you to use in the beginning. Unlike the first stage, which you could pretty easily do with almost any team, because 4 hand of blues, if you've got the big 3, gets you a protection gauge turn 2. So here we've used everything. We'll nuke, and then follow-up orbs we're not going to get to. Raphael, 1.2 million, and then Lumi does 332. So, yeah, not super great, but it's a very old team that still got like an okay score. It got higher than a couple of the other teams I showed off. So, that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.